What is up, Schwartz Force? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're reviewing the Melbourne Lonsdale watch, and this is something that I got from Wells. We did a watch swap. He got one of mine. This is the one I chose, and I'm going to give a full review on this watch for you to take a look at today. But in case you're new to the channel, my name's Dave. May the Schwartz be with you. And hey, did you know it's a great day to wear a watch? Today I have on the MDC Field Watch. It's by Infantry. They sent this to me to do a full review on, and it's a lot of bang for the buck. I think it's a Seiko homage, got day-date complication. Really cool watch. Check out the review up here if you haven't seen it yet. I definitely recommend it. But today we're gonna go over the Melbourne Lonsdale watch in detail. I'm gonna point out everything that I like about it. And I gotta say, I'm kinda sad I gotta give it back to Wells. So it was really nice of him to let me try this out for a couple weeks on the wrist. And I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I think you guys will too. So without further ado, let's jump into this review. Okay guys, so here it is. We're here to talk about the Melbourne Lonsdale. Now, I gotta say, just real quick, let's go over some specs and then I'll give you measurements. You're getting a lot of bang for the buck here. So we're talking full solid stainless steel, 316L stainless steel case. We have a solid stainless steel bracelet as well. These are solid links, and then we even have this milled out clasp, kind of like a safety clasp here. Very nice. Gotta say, really impressed to see all of that. Just, you know, for $100 that Wells got this under the Watch Gang Black tier. We're looking at flat sapphire crystal, screw down crown, and the workhorse NH35 movement. So already, you know this watch is going to be a winner. But let's go over all the actual details. Okay, let's start off with some measurements. So here we have a case diameter of 42 millimeters. When we include the crown, we're looking at right at 45 millimeters. Let's see, lug to lug height's coming in at right at 49 millimeters, and then we have the case thickness at 12 millimeters. Now, if you're going to swap out straps, you know, make sure you buy the 22 millimeter strap. So we got a lug width there of 22 millimeters. All right, and while this warms up, I wanted to show you the links. So of course I had to remove some of these links because Wells has mammoth wrists that are super large, and this watch I had to size to my wrist. But we have solid links, and then you'll see they are one piece. So even though there's that little bit of high polish there and then the brushed finish, it's all one solid link. So very easy to put in and remove. Just simple cotter pins that hold these links in place. And then as far as the sapphire, let's take a look. Yep. So we are looking at true sapphire crystal on the front. So we have mineral crystal on the back with sapphire on the front. So good to see that there. Now, when Wells and I went over his full collection from Watch Gang, this is the one that stood out to me quite a bit. And so when we were doing our watch swap, this is the one I wanted to get my hands on first. First initial thing that drove me to it was, of course, that red secondhand just looked really cool. You know, we kind of joked around about it being like the logo if you were a sinister, you know, villain. That's kind of the logo you would have on your hideout or your, you know, your elevator of your hideout. So that's one thing that really stood out to me. It was cool. And then, of course, this vinyl inspired like kind of ring where we have the hour markers, and then they call it a sun ray dial. So it's kind of like sunburst, but it's like a muted satin finish. Really cool. And then look at this cross hatching, almost like a hobnail pattern that we see along the bezel on the side of the case. Just really nice. You know, it just stands out. So this one to me like caught my eye, and I'm like, I want to check it out. And I gotta say, on the wrist, because this bracelet is so substantial, both in thickness and just overall with the satin finishing, I personally thought that it kind of pulled away from some of the features on the case itself. We see the high polish here on the sides of the case. It slopes down, but there's these sharp angles that come in where the crown guards come out. This is a screw down crown, and then we see that Melbourne branding there on the crown. Really cool. I like how it transitions to the satin finish as well. Pairs really nicely with, you know, the continuation here from the bracelet. One thing I think was smart of Melbourne to do with this watch is they didn't put a dive bezel around it. They just left it this kind of real thin brushed or satin finish edge simple bezel, and then of course we see that flat sapphire crystal. So it helps keep it a little more slim, a little more streamlined. I just think it looks really nice. And then when we get up close, check this out. So we have Melbourne branding at 12 o'clock. It says watch company and then the logo. We have Lonsdale, the model name there, right above 6 o'clock. That kind of nice, elegant font that they used is really cool. But one thing that this watch I looked at for days, and then I would keep noticing small little subtle things. So I'm gonna zoom in here. Check this out, guys. I didn't notice this for days before. So like right here at the 3, 6, 9, and 12, where those applied stick markers are, they're actually recessed just slightly onto the dial, where we see the vinyl kind of pattern is raised slightly higher, and then we have the hour markers applied on top of that. I mean, that's something I didn't notice initially, so it was kind of surprising to see. I also like how at the 12, 6, and 9, the actual markers there stick out a little bit further than they do on the other hours. And then of course at 3 o'clock we have the date box, and I kind of like how even the vinyl pattern there, you can see where they cut it out to where there's that recessed hour marker and then the date window. That thin white box around the date window gives it a nice little pop of color as well. I mean, just subtle things that are real easy to miss, but when you get up close on the dial, I just really enjoy it. And as you guys can see, I have this in position 2. The second hand has hack. With that Seiko NH35, we get hacking. As you can see here, exhibition case back. So instead of just doing like a decorated, rotor movement, they did something a little different, not the norm, and just put that simple black satin finish there. Ties in with the dial really well. So I like to see that. 50 meters water resistant, so you can definitely get the watch wet, not have to worry about babying it. And with that screw down crown, just gives you that extra peace of mind. So it does hand wind, as you can see I'm doing here. So if you guys have seen my reviews, you know that the NH35 is a real popular movement in a lot of brands. Just, reliable, it's gonna work, usually get some pretty decent accuracy. I like that in position 2, the movement of the hands is real smooth. And we see that with the date option, we are going to notice date change starts right at around 10 p.m. And that is gonna click over, just before midnight, about 11:55. So not a very long time for that to click over. And then let's take a look at when we change the date. It just, it can pass the date a little bit, so that it's a little clunky there. But if you take your time, it kind of falls into place. I think that could be better on the date wheel, to be honest. But other than that, just kind of, basic functions of the watch. So we are getting lume on these hour and minute hands. I like that they break it up with that kind of line there in the middle on these baton shaped hands. And then of course we get lume on the hour markers. So let me give you a quick shot of the lume. It doesn't last throughout the night, but it's definitely, I'd say almost on par with the MDC. It's pretty strong initially, and then it takes a good amount of time, maybe slightly above average, to wear out. So there's of course printed minute markers, and then we see minute indications in increments of 5s that go along the ray hot as well. But let's go ahead and check the accuracy of this movement for this particular watch. So I'm gonna go ahead and mute that, but as you can see, let's give it a minute to kind of catch up. Right off the bat, we're getting about 15 seconds, gaining 15 seconds a day. Okay, drop down to 8, so let's just let that run through for a second. Really good numbers. As you can see, we got +3 seconds a day, -1, -1, and then +2. So hovering, between the 4 and, give or take 4 seconds, on each side. I think that's really good for this being a Seiko NH35 movement. Accuracy is pretty decent, so it's not hovering too far off from that kind of range. Pretty good wells, man. You got a nice movement here so far with some decent accuracy. I gotta say, I'm impressed. So as far as price, these are currently out of stock on the Melbourne website, but you can buy them on the used market. I've seen them range anywhere from $150 all the way up to almost $300, which is kind of crazy. I know Wells got this for, his black tier, which is $100 a month through Watch Gang. So he definitely got, in my opinion, a really good deal, or a lot of bang for buck and value here. As we've pointed out with all the features of the watch. I did see an auction on eBay for one of these in a white dial, which I prefer this black dial, but I wanted to kind of keep an eye on that white dial and see what it went for. And it actually sold for under $60, which was pretty cool. So I would say keep an eye out if you like this watch. You can probably pick one up if you're lucky under 100 bucks. Otherwise, you're looking spending about 150 to 200 or so. So I'm going to put it on the wrist for you here. So again, this is on my 7-inch wrist, and you can see, do a little wrist roll for you guys. Very comfortable. Definitely has that heft to it, being all stainless steel, so quite a bit of weight. If you don't like bulky, heavy watches, this one may not be for you. And in fact, after wearing it for a bit, I swapped the strap out. So let me show you that now. So here we have it on leather, and I think it works really well. It definitely removes a lot of the heft that you feel from the watch. You know, for me, as I mentioned earlier in the review, I think that the bracelet kind of draws away from that crosshatch pattern, and I think with the leather, you just kind of see more of it. It just pops a little bit better in my opinion. It's not so much steel going on with the watch, and so having it on leather just looks a little more striking in my opinion. I really enjoyed this watch. Wells, buddy, if you're listening to this review, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to enjoy it. It's been a lot of fun, and seeing those kind of nuances within the watch itself was a real treat to get to enjoy and appreciate. So thanks again. But for you guys out there, let me know what you think of this watch. What's the most you would pay for this watch? Knowing the kind of prices that I've thrown out there, would you buy this for, you know, $60, $100, $150, $200, $300? I just want to hear your opinions and your thoughts on it. So make sure you comment down below. And of course, I'll look forward to seeing you guys at the next one. As always, may the Schwartz be with you. Take care.